Michael Jordan is not only the best basketball player, but he's the most exciting basketball player to ever play.
Tatum fires away, pumps it in, 51 for Jayson Tatum.
Hey everyone, welcome to this edition of the Big Three NBA podcast. Joining us today, shockingly, Sherrod Blakely, Gary Washburn, and myself, Kwani Lunis. But before we get started,
shockingly, Kwani, I'm gonna cut you right off the kneecap.
Being sarcastic because it's the same crew. Obviously, everyone else got that joke, just not you.
What else are you talking about?
All right, before we get started, though, we want to make sure that when you're not listening to the podcast, that you're showing love to Prizepicks. They're America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. You can download the app today and get a $50 bonus after your first $5 lineup. And as a friendly reminder, we just mentioned it, you are listening to the Big Three NBA podcast, which is part of the CLNS Media Network, which is where you'll find the Big Three podcast, past and present, as well as a lot of other great Celtics content on a regular basis. So let's get right into it. Of course, we're still in the off season. And just when we thought it was over, not so fast. So Boston may be one of the teams that's reportedly interested in Malik Beasley. He's been cleared of being a person of interest in an NBA probe when it comes to prop betting, which we talked about last week. He was the runner-up to Payton Pritchard for Sixth Man of the Year last season. With Detroit, he was averaging 16 points off the bench for the Pistons while shooting 41.6% on threes. So all of that being said, what he brings to the court, but also knowing what is happening off the court, do you two think he's worth pursuing here in Boston? And if so, why?
I'm not going to touch him. I'm not going to touch him. This is the thing. The federal probe into him and the leagues, look into it. Yeah, he's not on their radar anymore. But I just think that, one, I just don't think there's enough bang for the bucks that you're going to have to pay. Remember, this is a franchise, the Boston Celtics, that's trying to pare back payroll. And adding him to the mix, what does that really do for you in terms of wins and losses? You go from being maybe in that, 5, 6, 7, 8 conversation to being 5, 6. Okay. Nah, don't make sense.
Yeah,
there's not enough upside in adding him to the mix. And where's he going to play? Because you got some that shooting guard spot. What are you going to do with Hauser? You got Simons coming in. Payton Pritchard can slide over there. Jaylen Brown plays it too. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And plus, I'm sure Gary will probably get into this. There's some other teams that might be a better fit and frankly better opportunity for him going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know where this came from. I don't know why the Celtics really bring him in. I don't think it makes much sense in terms of their short-term or long-term thinking because, one, they don't have the money. Two, do you sign him to – you generally probably going to sign him to a one-year deal, so you're signing him just for this year, just is a kind of a stopgap situation. Now, if he takes the league minimum, which could be the possibility considering his – kind of shady track record in terms of off the court issues and somebody's got to take a chance on him. Maybe he gives you another lift off the bench, another 3-point shooter. I think there's Malik Beasley, the player, and Malik Beasley, the man in the off the court situation. Malik Beasley, the player, is a productive player. He had a great year last year for the Detroit Pistons, and they would have brought him back had not for these gambling issues. He would have came back on a multi-year deal instead of they went after and got Duncan Robinson. So I think the player could help. The off the court stuff. Do you want that in your locker room? Is this too much smoke right now for me to think the Celtics would want to take a chance on this? And it's not like now if you're competing for a championship and you think Beasley can be that final piece, that 3-point knockdown shooter off the bench, that 7th or 8th man, that's really just going to be like the Eddie House, right? If he's going to, on the 08 team, if he's going to just complete your team, then you take a chance. But their situation right now, basically having maybe kind of like a transition year where everything is a little bit different, no Tatum, everybody with new roles. I don't know if you bring in a personality like Malik Beasley with his history just for this season to see what happens.
Right. And even and Gary, just to kind of back up what you're talking about, even with most of the teams that might have interest in him, likely going to pay him the minimum, it's still I still wouldn't bring him in, even if the money was that low. To your point, Gary, I don't even though the fire may have been put out, I'm like you, Gary. I still see some smoke around this kid. And I don't know whether the fire has been put out because another one is going to start him, or there's a different kind of fire that you may have to deal with if you bring him. And plus, whatever team he goes to, you're going to be dealing with those questions every single day for the start of the season.
Yep.
And it may last. Yeah. And if you're a team that's trying to win a championship, you ain't trying to talk about your seventh, eighth man who is dealing with some that has nothing to do with basketball, but you're going to get those questions. And there's no telling how big a distraction that is going to be in the locker room and to team chemistry and all those other things that, as we know, there's a lot of intangibles that go into winning a championship. And one of the intangibles is how do you handle, that white noise? How do you handle the things that have nothing to do with how your team is playing, but could have a negative impact on how your team is playing? I just don't know if he's worth it. Well, for Celtics, I know he's not worth it as far as what they get from him and what it would do in terms of wins and losses. But for a lot of teams, I think that's one of those really tough, hard to digest type of questions that I think a lot of teams are who are interested in him from a talent standpoint and the player. There's a time to pause on that and figure out whether this makes sense for them, short or long term.
So with him entering free agency in summer of 2026, you both answered the question. You don't think he should be in Boston, but it sounds like Boston would be an ideal fit for him in the sense of setting him up right before that.
What you got, Gary?
I guess. I mean, obviously he's looking for a multi-year deal, but that's probably not going to happen. Free agency is pretty much done. The rest of the players out there, we still have no updates on the restricted free agents of Josh Giddey, Jonathan Kuminga, Quentin Grimes around the league, Cameron Thomas. We don't have any updates on any of those guys. Those are the only guys that could sign multi-year deals pretty much right now with the money being gone. Beasley's going to have to go after a one-year deal, be a good guy off the floor, have everything kind of cleaned up in terms of this gambling probe stuff, have a good year, and try to come back and get him another multi-year deal. So, I mean, I said before, like, unless the Celtics feel like this is a final piece for us, there's no reason for him to bring him in. There's just too many other guys out there who can shoot the ball, who have less of a risk off the floor and even on the floor. And there's some guys that you want to take a look at that I don't think Malik Beasley is going to be a good fit.
And the talent isn't that high to where you roll the dice for something like this. Like we're not talking about
intended.
Oh wow! Did she go there? She went there.
Yeah,
she did go there, didn't she? Gary, did she go there?
You set it up, okay? I didn't roll the dice. You did.
You're right. No, look, he's a good player. He's a good, solid role player. He's coming off a great season as we talked about. But we're not talking about a top 10, top 15, top 20 player, someone that could move the needle. When it was clear that DeMarcus Cousins needed to change the scenery, there were teams that were interested because he was that damn good a player. I mean, if he could have kept his head straight and stayed out of trouble, you would be getting a dominant, high impact, night in, night out type of player. But Beasley, that's not his game. He's a nice complementary piece to your team's success. Had 16 points a game off the bench last year, had a great season. But again, that greatness came as an addendum to what that Pistons team, and not the main source, not the main core of what they were about. So, if I'm the Celtics, I'm like, we good. We good.
Yeah. All right. Well, leave it to the Celtics to give us something to talk about during the offseason. All right. We have more to talk about. But before we move on, just a reminder that the Big Three NBA podcast is part of the CLNS Media Network, which is where you'll find the Big Three podcasts, past and present, as well as a lot of other great Celtics content on a regular basis. What else, Sherrod?
Well, there's this little thing known, and not so little thing known as Prizepicks, which is, again, the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, Prizepicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prizepicks. It's the best place to win cash while watching sports. Join millions of users and sign up today. You can mix and match player projections from different sports, combine your favorite basketball players, esports, soccer, you name it, they got you covered. They've also invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You double your money, even if one of your picks doesn't hit. How do you get in? It's real simple. You just download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prizepicks, run your game.
Someone on the Celtics roster by the name of Payton Pritchard, he is like the elite definition of like has that dog in him. Like, so recently he spoke at a one-on-one event and talked about this not being a gap year for the Celtics. The goal for him, at least, is always to compete for a championship. And it's very refreshing to have that mindset, knowing what has happened, to the Celtics over the last year. But that being said, what do you think Payton's role will be when we look at this roster next season? And that being said, should he be considered as a starter now that there, will be more opportunity for him to play?
Well, let's just kind of break this down a little bit. Let's start with the whole premise that this ain't a gap year.
Yeah.
Payton,
He's the definition of like he does not play games.
I mean, you look at the glass and there's like a little sliver of water in there. He talk about it's half full. Nah, bro.
Right.
This is the gap year. I mean, when Drew Holiday is walking out that door, when Kristaps Porzingis is walking out that door, when Jayson Tatum is going to come back to that door, but he ain't coming back ready to play this year. That is look, to say that it is a rebuilding year might be not accurate, but to say that it's not a gap year, it's a gap year because you have for the last 3 or 4 years have been a team that has competed and put a roster together that compete for a championship. This is not a championship competing roster. It's a competitive roster. It's a roster that I think are going to give some teams fits. They're going to play hard. They're going to do all those things that, when we think about those early Brad Stevens coach teams, kind of what they did, they weren't as talented. This team is more talented than those teams were, which is why I think they'll win more games. But they're not on the level of Cleveland. They're not up there with certainly OKC or, some of the other powers out west. And I love the fact that Payton is he's kind of like, like la 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 la. He's not trying to hear any of that stuff. But the reality is this is a gap year. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you look at Oklahoma City. They won a championship because 2 or 3 years ago, they kind of took a gap year where they just literally they didn't scorch the earth. They just simply said, we're just going to bring a bunch of young, talented guys in the mix. We're going to develop them. We are not going to be focusing on winning games. We're just going to be focused on just developing the guys that we have. And hopefully, in sometime sooner rather than later, we'll have a team that wins a championship or at least compete for one. Mission accomplished. If you're the Celtics, that kind of has to be the mindset this year that your best player is going to be back next year, maybe at the end of the season, but certainly full confidence Jayson Tatum will be back for the 26-27 season. Between now and then, you are not a championship contender. Between now and then, you're a team that's trying to figure out what are going to be some of the roles. Are guys going to be able to use this time to develop their games, to benefit from being in more critical, crucial situations than they were in with when Jayson Tatum was around? How are they going to make the most of this moment? And Payton Pritchard, again, your initial question, Kwani, about just the role that he's going to play, I think he's going to start. And I think that at some point, he may be coming off the bench. I don't think he's going to be I don't think you can ink him in as a starter. I think he's going to be one of those guys where there are going to be certain situations where he may start, he may not start. And one of the things and I was just thinking about this as we're talking about this, Simons, if he's still around, he's been a starter for like the last 3 years or so. And Payton has come off the bench pretty much since he's been. I'm wondering how is that going to factor in Joe Mazzulla's thinking, trying to keep those guys in roles that they have thrived in previously. It may very well be a situation where Simons might start, but Payton plays more minutes. I can see that. I can actually see that playing out. But I would say this, though. The way that Payton played last year, the way that he's positioned himself going forward, he has earned a right to be a starter. But just because you've earned it doesn't mean you're going to get it. We know a lot of guys who put up big numbers and play really well coming off the bench who played like starters but didn't start. Hell, we got a guy in the Hall of Fame in Boston, Kevin McHale, who spent a ton of time coming off the bench being a backup, who's better than many starters throughout the league during his heyday. So I think Joe Mazzulla's got an interesting situation developing with Simons and Pritchard. But make no mistake about it, Payton has done what you're supposed to do to earn the right to start. And even if it's on a team that's in a gap year, I know he don't like the sound of that, but damn it, that's who they are. That's who they be. It's a gap year. It's a gap team. And before Gary makes some kind of gap band reference, I'm just going to keep moving on because I know he's. I know G Money is thinking about a gap band reference, but we're gonna leave that alone.
You just dropped the bomb on me.
Damn it.
Kwani doesn't know that reference anyway.
Yeah, that one went over my head.
Yeah,
you dropped the bomb on me.
Charlie Wilson coming to Boston September 13th. So if you like the gap band,
Uncle Charlie,
the lead singer
House of Blues? Where's he gonna be?
I want to say one of those damn it, Wang Theater, or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
With El DeBarge. That's my man. Anyway, let's move on.
El DeBarge?
Yeah.
We now promote shows.
I think Babyface and
I did see that actually.
one of Casey and JoJo. I think it's JoJo.
Casey.
One of them. One of them. Not both of them. I think it's JoJo.
They're better together.
Well, it's Casey. Well, I can't remember. Anyway.
Okay. Back to Payton Pritchard.
Back to the Gap Band.
From Gap Band to Charlie Wilson to Payton Pritchard.
Who would have thought? Word association.
I probably would bring Payton off the bench. I think it's a role he's comfortable in. I think he brings a spark to the second unit, and I think that's what you want. I don't know if Payton like a starting point guard in this league, or is he a two guard? Like he kind of comes multi-positional or maybe positionless, however you want to look at it. But I would probably keep him in his role, and I would keep Simons. I just think it's fascinating, and no one's talking about obviously because Simons, the Celtics haven't really addressed Simons or his presence. We don't know his jersey number. We don't know what the hell is going on. What if he's going to be in training camp or he's going to be traded? We don't know. Okay, but it's fascinating to see how he blends in with his team. And using training camp, he might be a great team mate in terms of a pair with Pritchard. Or it might be a situation where it's like he starts, then Payton takes his minutes, or Payton replaces Derek White and they play together. Like, we don't know how this is all going to work with Simons. Simons is a guy who's a 6'3", 6'4" guard who can get to the rim, who can shoot the three, who's a great offensive player. His defense has been lacking over the years, and he's got to improve that. We'll see how that works out with Joe Mazzulla, but I think you would probably want to keep Payton in that role. I don't think that means he's any less valuable as a bench guy than he is as a starter, but I do think you want to keep guys comfortable in their roles. And unless, now do you turn and flip Simons into like that spark plug off the bench who can score? Maybe, but I think Payton has just always been that guy who just seems to just, when he comes into the game, he uplifts his team. But I wouldn't put starting past him, but I would probably go with Simons as a starter and Payton with his role off the bench. Now, I don't expect Payton to say anything less than that we're not taking a step back, because what does that say about the rest of his teammates? Well, we know we don't have Jayson, so why should we, we should just probably try to get maybe a 4 seed, right? Or third, 6 seed. Let's try to avoid the play-in. That's not what you say in camp. That's not what you say. Now if you're Charlotte or something like that, that's what you try to say. Hey, let's try to make the playoffs. But Boston, you ain't talking about, let's just make the play-in. Let's just try to avoid this. Let's just try to avoid the lottery. Like, you literally are like, you got championship DNA, a pedigree on that team. You got champions all over that roster, from Jordan Walsh to Payton Pritchard. You got dudes that won a chip. Sam Hauser, White, Brown, even Cato was on that team that won the chip. So you got champions all over that roster. You want them to say, you expect them to say, well, yeah, guys, we're not going to be as good. So, hey, fans, just get used to that. We're going to try, but don't expect much. Like, hell no. That's not the Boston Celtics mentality. What we expect them to say? We're going to go hard at every game. We're going to outplay because that's how they're going to have to win. Mm-hmm. Playing harder than their opponents, playing tough defense, grinding, diving for loose balls, getting the rebounds. Like they're not going to win pretty. They've won pretty over the last couple of years. They're not winning pretty this year. So if they can come with that mentality of like, okay, y'all take us lightly, because I know Jalen going to have that mentality, and Derek and Pritchard and all those guys going to have don't take us seriously and see what happens, and then see what happens. So I'm glad that Payton, for the Celtic faithful, I'm glad Payton took that mentality of like, nah, we're not going to take a step back. We're gonna play hard.
But isn't that on brand for him, though? I mean, if you think about it,
I wasn't surprised at all.
Underdog, feisty, me against the world. No one thinks we this, that, the other. I mean, he's been living that life, pretty much ever since he began playing basketball. So it is in many ways on brand. But the one thing, Gary, that you touched on, and I think is really it's interesting. The way that they play, their style of play is going to have to go through a dramatic overhaul. They're going to have to be they're literally going to have to be the harder working team night in and night out, because they don't have the depth or talent across the board to beat teams the way they're accustomed to doing it. And as I know Gary, hates when I bring my guy up, but I'm going to bring him up again. My man, Rick Carlisle. The very first team Rick Carlisle had in Detroit, 2001, 2002 team, where your best player was Jerry Stackhouse. And then you had a bunch of guys, most of whom no one will ever remember other than Ben Wallace and my guy Chucky Atkins, who most people don't remember. They won 50 games. And it was one of the way that they did it was very simple. They outworked you every single night. They would beat you 82-79. And they did this consistently. Joe Mazzulla does not have the offensive firepower on this roster to go out there and get you 125, 130 points. They're going to have to grind. And I think they're going to have to, I think, leave a little bit of the offensive juice, on the cutting room floor and just be a grinded out team to have unexpected success that goes above and beyond what I think most people anticipate them being. If this team can finish in the top 5 or 6, that is an amazing season. And Joe Mazzulla is probably in the coach of the year conversation. If they're able to do something like that. But anything short of being a grinded out, low score, they're going to have to play. They're going to have to change their way of playing in order to be successful. And the point that Gary brought up, which I think is a really important one, the way that this roster is assembled in terms of player personnel, you don't get a sense that that's necessarily going to happen, because they don't necessarily have the kind of players whose game lends itself to being gritty, grimy defenders. If you had a team where you had guys who were, for lack of a better description, offensively challenged, those guys you can lean on them to play great defense, because they know that that's what they got to do to be successful. But you got guys like Simons, who was a 20-point scorer in this league. You're going to tell him that he's going to have to start locking kids up defensively. He's going to have to work his butt off at that end of the floor, and he may not get, half as many shots as he's used to. Good luck with that. It's doable, but up to this point, we really haven't seen that type of transformation. And granted, he's never been on a team this talented, so we'll see. But they're going to have to be guys that are going to have to embrace the fact that the roles that they are accustomed to playing, not just in Boston, but just in the NBA in general, is going to have to change if this team is going to have unexpected and unprecedented success that few outside that locker room and on that payroll anticipate.
Well, so much more to be seen, of course, when we get to the season. But still on the topic of the offseason, before we go, also on a lighter note, Jayson Tatum has a new hairdo. He has some braids in his hair, but better known as cornrows, though, specifically cornrows. Jaylen Brown had some thoughts on them as well, saying that, he does have a lot of time on his hands right now. JT is just doing anything now, is what he said. But what do you two think about the braids?
You know what, Kwani? I felt a little bit out of my element on this particular topic.
I wonder why.
I don't know. But I'm curious, Kwani, because you understand like that process better than me and Gary on what it takes to actually get your hair like that. And most people don't realize it is a process. You don't just roll up
Oh no,
press
no,
and change or rearrange your
it's
you
an
out the door.
experience.
Yeah, it's an experience. With sisters and a daughter, I've dropped them off at the shop. Many hours later, I've come to pick them up.
Yeah.
It's not one of the things where you go in there, you go to McDonald's, or you go somewhere, get your quick meal and come back. It don't work that way. I'm curious from your perspective, Kwani, because you're the one I want to hear from. What is that process like, and do you feel it's worth it?
Great question. I would say one, I would hope that him and even Jaylen Brown don't have to sit in salons for as long when they get their hair done. I could be wrong. It probably might be the same amount of time just because, you have more resources. And
I don't think money can get you out of this one.
Well,
unless you got multiple people working on the hair, maybe.
That's what I mean. But also, I know, there was a woman that used to braid Marcus Smart's hair, and I believe she braids Jaylen's hair right now. So I don't know if that's the same person that the Tatum's braids is also. But honestly, their cornrows shouldn't take as long as like my braids would have taken. Mm-hmm. Either way, also knowing the texture of, now I'm getting like nitty gritty, but knowing the texture of Tatum's hair, I'm curious as to how long the braids will last. But I actually thought they looked good. I saw the jokes. They were like, he looks like Drake. Like, people just find it. He does look like Drake, though.
I was going to say.
I like them, though. I didn't think I would like them, but I like them. I think they look good. It works on his face for some reason. That makes sense.
He doesn't like Drake, though. I mean, that first time I saw him, I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's interesting how one, like a hairdo really can change someone's face, but it's definitely like a new era of Tatum. I've never would have thought to see him with cornrows. So
no,
it's interesting.
He pulled him out to go to Bill's Bradley Bill's wedding.
Yeah.
So this was like, I'm going to unveil this look at like a really high. It's supposed to be just something that he just decided. You know what? Hey, Deuce. Hey, Mon, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go. No, this was something that was done well. This was well thought out. This was planned out. This was orchestrated. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna make this known at the right time with the right large scale audience. I know I ain't balling right now, but damn it, y'all gonna know. Y'all gonna see me.
Right?
Y'all gonna see me.
I want to think his hair took maybe 2 to 3 hours. Like again, it didn't look like that much of a. Assuming the person could grip the braid, like his hair, to braid it properly, because again, his hair is definitely a little finer than like Jaylen's hair, and my hair is a little thicker.
And I look, when they have media day, and I'm assuming that he's going to be around to some extent on media day. Mm-hmm. Gary, that's your first question. How long did it take you to get your hair did?
I don't know if Gary's going to ask.
I give you a quarter, Gary. I give you a quarter if you ask me that.
It's my thing to ask the ridiculous media day question, so I don't mind taking it.
How long did it take to get your hair did?
Right.
Leave that to Kwani.
They just look at me again like, really?
I don't know. I mean, the last time, I think whenever he made the last appearance before, his hair was a little longer than it usually is. So obviously,
like the long curly, yeah.
Yeah, he like let it grow out to do the cornrows. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, no offense, like Jayson do what he want with his hair. You got a full head of hair. Mm-hmm. When you got that full head of hair, you can get creative. You know, you can. And so,
yes, you can.
God bless him for having that type of creation. You know, the cornrow look on Jayson is, to me, it's not a great look, but you know, good luck to him. You know, it's just like, you got a great head of hair, Jayson. Just wear it, you know, how you wear it.
Yeah, it's a protective style. He's protecting his scalp in the summer.
Protecting his what?
It's what we call protective
style. Break it down. I've heard this before. Honestly, break it down.
Watch this on YouTube or somewhere else. So protective style is like usually in the summer, which is why I get braids. Like in the summer, it's hotter, your hair is heavier. And so braids, cornrows, all of that is usually done to not only protect your hair and like its natural texture, but also for people that do run hot, you're also keeping your hair kind of a little more. I don't like the term tame because that implies that our hair isn't.
Mostly but dudes don't have that like
they do now.
But it's considered a protective style as long as you have naturally thick hair.
But Jason's like
we call it
28. Jason's 27, right? He's had a lot of summers where he kept that hairstyle. Like,
yeah, but I think you're overthinking. The protective is not like protective is just the terminology that's used when you think about those. It's like an umbrella term for all of those hairstyles. I'm not saying it's not specific to Tatum. It's the way your hair is protected, and it's not necessarily just for summer. Some people braid their hair in the winter.
His hair needs security guard. Like his hair needs like a
He's trying to be funny, Kwani.
His hair needs to.
It's hard to explain if you don't have natural. I don't know. Yeah, no.
I know what you're talking about, Kwani.
But
I ain't got.
We call it protective styles, and it doesn't have to be in the summer. It can be in the winter as well. But it's considered a way to give your hair a break, if that makes sense.
You need a bodyguard, Gary. That's what you're asking. Do you need security? Security.
Somebody trying to look at my hair.
Somebody trying to kill my hair.
That's not what the protective part meant.
Why? You said protective. I'm worried for Jason.
Gary, you are a black man. You should know what a protective style is.
Jason safe? Do we need to worry about his safety? Is Jason going to be okay?
Wait, okay. In all seriousness, you never heard the term protective style before?
No. Hell no.
That's very interesting.
I don't think it made its way out west, Kwani.
Yeah, it's okay. But I would say for black women, that's something that we talk about often. Again, people with thicker hair, it's called a protective style to protect either your scalp, your hair, depending on what you're doing in that moment. So that was everyone's Black history lesson for today.
I didn't know Jason needed protection, but damn, now I'm really worried about his safety.
Lord,
I hate him.
Well, chime in on that.
Your scalp.
Like, I remember
we let you out of here, for those of you
Sherrod was worried about Vitor Favorani getting shot.
That was my guy.
Yeah, like I'm now worried about Jason. I'm worried about Jason. I hope he's going to be okay.
I think he will be.
Okay, that's one.
Yeah, I think so. All right, like I said, before we get out of here, though,
I don't think it's a great look on him.
Okay, that's fair.
He does kind of resemble Drake. I looked because I'm like, oh, there's Jason. I saw the film. I was like, which one is Jason? Is that running out? Like I didn't recognize him. But I think that by training camp, that's going to be gone. You know what? He's not going to be playing, so he probably can keep that hairstyle for a while. Because I just don't think he hits the court with that. I think that's like, Jalen's right. Homeboy got some time on his hands. It's August. He you know what? Let me try this. I never tried it before because obviously he's had the shortcut when he came into the league. It was shorter, then he let it grow out, and that's only 2 looks he's had. So
and that's the fun part. He's young. He can try this, hairstyles, experiment, color it, whatever. Prime example.
Great full head of hair. You just have more options. You have more options.
Exactly.
Options.
He did. All right. The third time I try to wrap up, third time to chart. Before we get out of here, for those of you listening to the show, we ask that you subscribe to the podcast, leave a review. And for those of you watching the show on CLNS, go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe to the CLNS Media and Celtics All Access YouTube channel, where, of course, you'll find this show and a lot of other great Celtics content. Also, a reminder, turn those notifications on so you know the moment a new episode like this one drops. For Sherrod Blakely and Gary Washburn, I'm Kwani Lunis, and this has been the Big 3 NBA Podcast.
Hey, protect Jayson Tatum. Protect Jayson Tatum. Protect Jayson Tatum.
You'll have lots of options.
Yes. Protect Jayson Tatum.
They need help, guys.
Go away, Gary. Go.